Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
And we're all eating too many pretzels. What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood. Oh gosh, how am I going to break this news? With Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson. You make everything worse. A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to. I hate myself for loving you. Welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy, and this week we're going to talk about the Great Regression.
We're regressing, guys. I'm regressing into like a cellular state at this point.
We're going to talk about that today. I've done my research. This is a research one, you guys. We are all regressing, babies, toddlers, tweens, and grownups. And we're going to talk about why we're doing that and what doesn't work and then what does work to make it better. But yeah.
We chose this topic because I kept noticing on the Facebook page, people were like, my potty-trained child is no longer potty-trained. My good sleeper is suddenly not sleeping well. And I recently did an Ask Margaret about whether we should sleep train right now. And I kind of addressed this thing of, it doesn't seem like anyone's doing great at this point. Amy and I, before we got on, were just talking about my kid and all my kids, my whole family, how we've really fallen back into some really bad eating habits, which is, you know, part of the thing of like, I guess I'll cook 20 scones every day because I have the time. And so it feels like we're all regressing. And so if you're not on our Facebook page, come to facebook.com/whatfreshhellcast and join the Facebook group, because this is where I noticed this trend. You know how they say that, Amy, that like they're reading whatever remote temperature data and they're like, oh, we can see where stuff is going on. It's like, wait, I think I see on Facebook that everyone is having this common problem. And I have a feeling in your research, Amy, that you found that this is a real thing.
Yes. And you actually just mentioned last week that baby talk is back in your household after a somewhat long absence.
Oh, and when I say baby talk, my youngest kids are 8 and 9, and I'm noticing it in them.
Mm-hmm.
8 and 9 are like, Mommy, could I please have... I'm like, what? What is this?
All right. So let's talk about the different ways that this can show up, because I think we know it when we see it, but there's a lot of different ways that this can manifest. For younger kids, they might say, you know, hold me like I'm a baby, pretend I'm a baby, that kind of stuff. If you've gotten past the thumb sucking or the pacifier, maybe you haven't now, like the pacifier is sort of showing up out of the crib on the couch in the afternoons. Potty training. Kids who are on the potty training path or fully there might regress, start having accidents, or start wetting the bed for the first time.
Yeah. So why is this happening? Because I definitely see everybody posting about this.
Yeah. Let me just say, it can also manifest in ways that aren't necessarily so clear of like, treat me like I'm a baby. It can be eating more than usual.
Yes.
Or eating less than usual, changes in your children or your own eating habits.
Well, picky eaters, much more picky all of a sudden, controlling their food, right?
Yeah. Kids can be more clingy or more like rejecting.
Or if you have multiple kids, they can be both, which is fun.
Yes.
One who won't let go of you and one who keeps screaming that you're the worst person alive. I'm speaking, what do they call extemporaneously, Amy?
Well, it turns out that I make everything worse. So that's what I'm learning.
For all three, though? Because that's the thing. There's one for whom I am absolute kryptonite. And then there's 2 for whom they suddenly want to sleep with me and like want to be with me all the time.
Well, let me tell you what awaits when they get older. So my kids are 12, 15, and 17. And my 12-year-old is sometimes still mommy's little child and sometimes not. Sometimes that child will cross the Rubicon to stand against me with the older siblings to say that, yes, indeed, I do make everything worse and they're right. And why do you always insist on reading the rules of a board game we've never played before instead of just playing it, Mom? Like that kind of thing.
Really? I mean, but if you behave like that, if you insist on reading the rules before doing it, this is something I see in my kids now that I'm homeschooling them. Let's just dive into the questions and just hazard a guess at each of them rather than doing the reading. It's like read this paragraph and then answer the questions. And 2 of my kids are just always like, let's go with this. And I'm like, well, you have to read the paragraph. Otherwise, you will have no idea what the answer is. And they're like, I think I can wing it.
Yeah.
I mean, A+ for self-confidence, but like D- for scholarship.
I mean, we talk about this every week because it's what I'm going through. But I need you to help me with this, Mom. And also, I hate myself for loving you, like that thing at the same time.
I hate myself for loving you. Oldie alert.
Back in my day.
Go look up that song if you don't know it, guys. It's a bop, as the kids say.
It's playing nonstop in my house. So, all right.
Yeah, it's the theme.
So regression, but why is it happening? Are you ready for why it's happening?
I am so ready because I'm giving myself, as you know, I can't say this series of words, a pat back. I'm giving myself a back pat for figuring out that this was a thing.
Yes. Behavior is communication. I believe you said that to me, Margaret, and I think about it.
I do often say that. That's a touchstone of my mom's, who is a family therapist. And wow, behavior is communication. Love it.
It's being communicated. This is a stressful time for everybody. I'm going to give you another truth bomb. Claire Lerner is a child development specialist. She says, when kids feel out of control on the inside, they lose control on the outside. And she puts that towards everything from more temper tantrums to potty accidents. Like they are showing you how they feel because they can't tell you.
Well, and as I say, like, wait, why is this happening? Let me in, Amy. It does seem pretty clear that the littler you are, the more care you get. And so when the world outside suddenly seems very frightening, it actually makes a lot of sense that you would regress backwards because what you're communicating is, help, I'm frightened and I want to be a baby who is taken care of all the time and not a grown-up who has to deal with coronavirus.
And yeah, not somebody who has to be in charge in any way, right? Treat me like I'm a baby.
I mean, I feel this way quite a bit myself. I'm like, let me get into bed under the covers in literally a fetal position because I need a lot of care.
And the thing is, when you are a baby being taken care of, like you are all good. Like you're not particularly worried. What if my mom doesn't feed me tomorrow? Like you're very in the moment as a baby and you're pretty sure everything's going to be fine and somebody's going to pick you up when you cry. And I think it's that we're seeking that return to security. Carl Jung, if I can get very original with you on the psychoanalysts.
Jungian, my goodness. We're going all the way back. This is an Oldie alert.
Back in my day.
Basically.
Carl Jung. Because regression, I mean, it feels pretty negative when you're on the receiving end of it, right? And I think it has a sort of pejorative sound to it. Like your kid is sucking his thumb again. That's regressive behavior. And there must be something wrong with you, Mom, that it's happening, and certainly something wrong with your kid, and stamp it out as soon as possible. That's not really the appropriate approach, as we'll discuss. But Carl Jung says that we all have regressive tendencies. And when we sort of give in to them, it is an attempt to achieve feelings of innocence, security, love, and trust, that we're actually seeking those things in a very positive way.
Wait, was security on that list?
Yes.
Yeah.
Childhood innocence, security, love, and trust.
Yeah, security seems to me the top of the triangle for everybody right now, right? And I feel like this is worth pointing out, and I think somebody said it on the Facebook group at some point. You may think that you are fundamentally shielding your kids from what is going on, but they're picking up on it, even if they've literally never heard of the virus, that you have not allowed that information in. Although I guess that's like only a baby, because kids know they're not going to school. They understand that there's been a foundational shift. And I have a friend this week who has a newborn baby and their dog unexpectedly passed away and it's coronavirus. And this baby is literally 4 months old and hasn't slept well in 2 nights.
Aww.
That baby is picking up on the fact that their household is enveloped in a tremendous amount of sadness and anxiety.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so you don't have to be walking around every day being like, oh, the virus, it's so bad and I don't know what we're going to do. And what if the food supply chain breaks down? You may think, well, we're not manifesting a lot of anxiety, but your kids are anxious no matter. Yes, it might be better to kind of always be the presence of like, we're going to get through this and we're going to get through it together. And here's how that works. But you don't have to be whirling around and screaming about the virus 24 hours a day for your kid to be having a tremendous amount of anxiety.
You know, one of our listeners said on I believe it was the Facebook group, that we talked a couple episodes back about how kids might start acting this out in their play, start talking about the coronavirus and ways that would kind of maybe freak you out, but you should leave it alone because they're just sort of trying to make sense of it. She went in to get her toddler after his nap, and he was putting a blanket over a stuffed animal's face and saying he's getting ready to go to the grocery store. And she said, you know, my first reaction would have been like swoop down on that, fix it, you know, reassure it, whatever. But she realized that this kid making sense. And as you said, it isn't like this person has the news blaring 24/7. She's doing a good job of protecting her kid from what you can protect them from. But it's just out there. It's not our job, as you have said more than once, to pretend that this isn't happening in the world for our kids. We can't do that. That's an impossible task.
And I also think you may not realize, and I'm speaking to the you that is me now, what parts of it are anxiety producing. Like, I feel like I'm constantly like, Dad and I are in pretty good shape and we're being very careful and we aren't going to get sick and die, because I have projected that that's what's scary to my kids. And we went out early on in the whole thing, and we went out for a hike and we drove to a kind of abandoned wooden area near our house and we walked around and it was nice to be outside. But when we stopped to pick something up on the way home and my husband put a mask on and my kids were like, look at that guy, he's wearing a mask, pointing at somebody else. And it's like the idea of seeing anybody in a mask really scared them. Like something's really wrong if people are wearing masks. And now in New York State, at least, masks are mandated everywhere you go. And so now they have to wear a mask and we're all in masks and people in masks everywhere. And you forget that like masks are kind of, I mean, doctors wear them, I guess, but like there's something scary about masks. Like doctors wear them, dentists wear them, and robbers wear them. Like
those are all scary people.
Yeah, masks are not worn by the non-scary. It's not like, you know, the fairy godmother who drifts down is wearing a mask. Masks have a scary association for kids. And you can talk to them about it. You can use your words. But I think, yes, you're not going to get them through a global pandemic where everything, including their schools, are shut down and people are dying without them experiencing some anxiety. And that should not be your goal.
And guess who else feels anxious when they see people in masks?
Me? Yeah.
You. Right. Right. We are all regressing. This was an interesting point that I found. A psychologist named Noel McDermott. He said that the need we are all having to get back in touch with our summer camp friends and our college roommates and people we haven't talked to in a very long time, reaching out to them like, are you okay? How are you doing? Are you okay? Is us reassuring ourselves that we are okay. We're trying to go back to an earlier time and we're trying to reconnect to an innocent thing that's outside of this. I thought I was just being a good human being, but apparently that's kind of regressive behavior that we are all, many of us, engaging in. Doesn't make it bad.
It doesn't make it bad, but I think there's an interesting point, a larger point that we're getting to, which I haven't thought a lot about and I want to think more about. One of my children's classmates had a very tragic event happen. And as a result, it affected the whole school and there were counselors who were available. And we went to see a counselor and the counselor was talking to me about how to help my daughter through this really terrible experience. And she said, you know, a lot of children who go to suburban schools and have, you know, functioning families and basically like are kind of at the top of the food chain experientially in terms of just born, you know, lucky, never have to deal with these kind of experiences. And it's tragic that your daughter has to deal with this experience. But on the flip side, there are tremendous positives to dealing with trauma as a young child. And you wouldn't wish this on your child, but it's happened to your child now. And so take the gifts that come with this tragedy and don't leave them behind. Oh, I got emotional saying that. But I'm trying to remember that now, you know?
Yeah, we're in it, so we can make it better for our kids and we can help them, I guess, find the gifts of this, but always remembering that pretending as if this hasn't happened and isn't happening doesn't have to be our job. That is, in fact, not the best way to serve them.
Exactly. That letting them confront the fear and terrible nature of this entire event is you're robbing them of a gift if you try to be like, I am the person who blocks this entire experience from happening to you. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll be right back.
For some of us, tax season is one of the only times that we look at our finances fully. And once it's over, well, that was terrible. And it is completely understandable not to want to think about it for another whole year. But using Monarch and being intentional with your finances in an ongoing way helps you see where your money is going and how you can put your refund to best use.
We are here to tell you, simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your phone or laptop.
Feel aware and in control of your finances this tax season and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code FRESH.
As you know, my husband and I are preparing to send, 3 kids off to college, and I cannot tell you how helpful Monarch has been in showing us our full financial picture, helping us to track our spending and reach important savings milestones. Our weekly meeting, Amy, it's now run by Monarch.
Love it. Achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes money management simple.
Use code FRESH at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarch.com, code FRESH.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today and let us surprise you.
That makes me think, Amy, of, remember the movie Life is Beautiful? It's a bit of an Goldilocks alert.
Back in my day. Yep, it's a good one, though.
But it's basically the story of a father and a son who are sent to a concentration camp. And the father makes it his job in this kind of beautiful way in the movie to make everything that's happening at the concentration camp for himself and his son into a game. And he makes it, the story is that he makes his child believe that everything that's happening is like a funny game that they're playing so that his child does not have the traumatic experience of the concentration camp. And it's a beautiful movie and it has many beautiful pieces of it. But I think that what we're fundamentally saying is that's exactly not our job in this situation.
Well, yeah, I mean, that kid was seeing things that his father was spinning into something else before his eyes. I mean, I think the kid was a willing participant in it, right? Like the kid was like going hungry and wearing rags. So it wasn't like he didn't know it was happening, but it helped him to have his dad sort of transform it. But yeah, I don't think that's our job.
Yeah, I think our job is to, and nor is the experience for most of our children that traumatic. And so I think that's another part of it is that we want to tell ourselves the story. Our children can handle this and we should answer the questions that they're asking. And I feel like that's an instinct that I have to fight myself where I'll kind of, oh, it's really not that bad. And now we're having much deeper dinner conversations about like, what is this really looking like? And I think it's better for my children that I'm honest with them about what's really going on. And I'm not trying to make it seem like, oh, we're just out of school because they're being super cautious. But it's really not a big deal what's happening. It is a big deal what's happening.
But it depends on the kid and the ages. And so, I have another friend with several little kids at home who just told me over the weekend she has not told her kids yet that there's no school until the end of the year because they seem quite content going day to day and nobody's asked. And she's like, I'm not sure I need to be like, sit down, everyone, I have news for you. And I think she's right in that case because her kids are young enough to be taking it day by day and cutting things out of construction paper. So it depends. I think it depends on your situation.
Absolutely. And I don't think that's even in contrast to what we're talking about, because one of our big rules is, right, answer the questions asked. So my kids are 11, 9, and 8, and they're also playing headset gaming with their friends and stuff. So they're hearing stuff. I will say the school is closed for the rest of the year. We had my daughter is in a play that she had the lead role in, and that her brothers were all in the same play. And so it's been 4 years of waiting to be in the play. And that was the one thing that she couldn't let go. And so the news that school was really closing till the end of the year and that play was not going to happen, I was dreading breaking it to her. And my son is graduating from the 4th grade, which our school ends in the 4th grade. It's not the biggest deal in the world that he's missing it, but it's a big party and you get to march around with your little hat on through the high school. And his brother did it. And so he knows that he's missing, the big end of the year party and all the fun stuff that goes with that. And they all had stuff that they're missing. And I was like, oh gosh, how am I going to break this news? And one of the kids told them on the gaming headset and came up and was like, is this really it? And it worked out great. Like, I wouldn't have planned it that way, but it was so much easier for him hearing it from his friend.
Oh, because you would have been punished, right? They talk about shooting the messenger.
Oh, that's the problem. The shooting the messenger thing is something I didn't really. I feel like you were Cassandra. You tried to warn me about this shooting the messenger thing.
Yep.
But OMG. And that's what they say all the time. No matter what I tell them. You have a dentist appointment after school today? Back in the days when we used to go to the dentist. Remember that, guys? Or this terrible thing has happened, or one of the family members has died. It doesn't matter what it is. It's always, why would you tell me that?
Yep.
You've ruined my day.
You make everything worse.
I didn't know that was going to happen, even though you warned me a million times.
But wait, let's talk about the actual regressive behavior. Okay, so all this is happening and all of a sudden you have a kid who's sleeping in your bed every night, and what are you going to do? Or, sucking their thumb, whatever. There are some things that you shouldn't do. And so I wanted to sort of go through these because I've certainly tried all of these and they don't work for different reasons. So this list is from Claire Lerner. She's a child development specialist and she wrote an article for Psychology Today. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can look where you're listening right now. You can tap right in the app or go to whatfreshhellpodcast.com. Okay, so these are the things she says do not work to address regressive behavior in any situation. Telling them they're acting like babies, sort of shaming them.
Oh, but that is just such a go-to for me.
I mean, it feels good when you say it, right?
Oh, well, it's, of course, your first reaction is like, why are you acting like a baby?
Right.
And I will say, you're calling me out. I have found myself since this started, I have said to every single one of my kids, why are you acting like a 2-year-old? And I've said it in an angry, mean, yelly way, not in a like, why are you acting like this? I mean, like, why are you acting like a 2-year-old? It's not great. Hard to resist, though.
Hard to resist, but she says it can paradoxically lead to more acting out behavior because it's an attack on their sense of self.
I get that, but I still do it. Sorry.
Yeah, no. But we know why they're acting. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you acting like a baby? Like, we already know the answer to that question. So we don't have to ask our 4-year-old who won't be able to answer except by, more throwing food on the floor. Bribing, cajoling, rewarding. This is one I do. And I feel like sometimes it has worked, but only when they're ready to give up the pacifier. If you're putting all kinds of like, oh, please, mommy will get you anything you want if you just wear your big boy pants today. If you do that too much, the low power strategy of dominance that your little child is exhibiting becomes a high power strategy of dominance. And the most powerful thing they can do in that moment is hold that poop in. You know what I mean? That's all they got. And if you're showing them that it does have some currency, then they're going to play that card.
Yep. And it reminds me of my mom used to say this all the time. And it's one of those touchstones that I come back to again and again. People do things because they work. And people are in situations because they work for them on some fundamental level. So even if you're in a really bad situation or making really bad choices, it's working for you on some level. And so, yes, your kid is baby talking because it's working for them on some level. And you're saying, stop acting like a 2-year-old because it's working on some level. It's not that it doesn't work.
Yes.
It's that it's not the best choice.
It's not the best choice. Okay, the next thing that doesn't work is demanding, punishing, coming down really hard on the behavior. You will go to sleep right now and not stand in the living room and cry. When you demand that your child act more independently right now, it makes them feel insecure, which means that there'll be more regression.
Amy, you're really cutting the legs off a lot of my parenting techniques here. It's not great for me. You better be coming in hot with some solutions, because this is pretty much everything I do all the time.
If stop that right now worked, there would be no What Fresh Hell laughing in the face of motherhood. Or it would be very short episodes.
I guess that's true. But I mean, stop that right now. You're not going to not say that.
And sometimes it works.
Is our goal to not say that anymore? Oh.
No.
All right. You better have some solutions at the end of this, because like I said, you're bumming me out big time right now.
No, this is when your kid is really exhibiting this regressive behavior, like wetting the bed or, insisting that they need to sleep with mommy every night, like stuff you need to address.
Right. Stop that right now.
Yeah, stop that right now doesn't work.
Yeah, I get it.
The last one is using logic.
Okay. Again, like what are we left with? But go ahead. Give me the logic example.
Well, trying to explain to them the reason you're doing this is because you're feeling insecure about the coronavirus. Like logic has no foothold here. They are expressing things that they can't even understand, let alone express by, throwing a tantrum. So you can't meet a tantrum with an article from Psychology Today and expect them to understand it. It helps you, hopefully, but it doesn't help them.
Right. I get it.
Okay, so now your quiver is totally empty.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I'm like, sorry, kids, you're feral now. You're on your own. Amy has told me I can't do any of the parenting that I do.
The other bit of bad news, just to really nail it down, this is also Claire Lerner. She says that if your kid wants to sleep in your bed, don't let them, because you're inadvertently reinforcing that their own bed is an unsafe place.
Okay, I'm going to push back a little bit, and I'm going to say that I understand the point of this, but we're in a pandemic.
Yep.
And I think kids are looking for some comfort, and that is fine to give them. I have had a kid in my room for the first time ever, like 4 nights since this whole thing began. Sometimes they just freak out. I mean, it's fine. I have a friend who lost her husband and has 2 kids, and she's home alone during the pandemic. And we have a separate apartment kind of thing. That's my husband's office, but he's not working in there right now. And I said, if you freak out some night because you're home alone with 2 daughters, come stay in our apartment. No, we wouldn't be in contact with each other. Like you might need, even though it's not logical, you might get scared during a pandemic and be like, I got to go just stay on someone else's house because I'm scared. I think you have to be open-hearted enough to say some nights this may get overwhelming, but you also want to hold your boundaries to the point where you're not like, we now become a family who sleeps together every night.
Or unless that works for you, right? I don't want to be like co-sleeping is bad and everybody's sleeping in their own bed all the time. If it works for you, great. I mean, we're starting from the place of we're assuming that your bedwetting kid is not working for you, that your kid that's kicking you in the face and keeping you up all night and your spouse is on the couch is not working for you in week 3. And that's what we're talking about. That your kid wants to suck her thumb more often is not necessarily something that needs to be corrected at all. Right? I mean, there's regression that's fine and regression that's not, I guess.
And even for me, it is not okay for me to start living a life where my 11, 9, and 8-year-old sleep every night with my husband and I in our room. Not okay. But do we, during the pandemic, when someone says, I don't know, I'm just feeling scared, say, you can sleep in our room one night. But we do usually say, if you sleep here tonight, you are definitely sleeping in your room tomorrow night. We're trying to be the guardians of the gate a little bit, but allow for a little bit of the regression because they do seem to need it.
And I need it. I mean, I had one of my kids was very sick about 6 weeks back, had to take them to the ER. And yeah, like they slept in my bed that night because they were worried and I was worried and I wanted to make sure they slept okay that night. And my kids are grown. They're big. So yeah, we have to be careful. This episode is not about like shaming you if your kids are not keeping to all their milestones in the appropriate way right now. They're probably not. And we're all eating too many pretzels. So, but here's why it's happening. And then you can meet it with a little more compassion. When we come back, we'll talk about what actually might work to fix this.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
And now, homeschooling day 1 versus homeschooling day 60.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
Day 1.
And so, The Secret Garden really functions not only as a story of a motherless child, but as a symbol of the possibilities of revitalization.
Day 60.
Differential equations are never going to come up in real life. Just skip that chapter. Day 1.
I know it's hard that you're not going to be able to go to school, but don't worry. Daddy and I are going to work together to make your homeschooling journey fun.
Day 60.
Oh, really, honey? I need to flip the fractions before I divide? Big talk from a guy who didn't even know the deciduous forest was a biome. Day 1.
I've always believed in education, what you give in is what you get out.
Day 60.
What is the square root of 225?
The square root of 225 is 15.
Okay, write that down. Day 1.
Children, as you can see, I've made a detailed, color-coded chart of how we are going to break up our day for maximum functionality.
Day 60.
Oh my God. You guys have been playing Fortnite for like 8 hours straight. Listen to me. If you have any assignments that you will literally fall out of school if you don't turn in, go do them.
This has been Homeschooling Day 1 versus Homeschooling Day 60.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast. I want to, before we, move into solutions, say one more thing that has really helped me reframe my thinking on this. I think one of the things that is going along with regression, and this I noticed in my little kids, but I really notice it in my tweeny kids now, is that there is also a ton. Some of this regression is what my mother, the therapist, family therapist, would call boundary-seeking behavior. And that is a really interesting way for me to frame it in my mind, because the problem with giving in is not that you'll have a kid who is sucking their thumb until they're 20. The problem with giving in is that sometimes your kids are seeking boundaries because they feel like the world as I understand it has fallen apart. Everything's different. I don't understand the rules anymore. I am going to push and push and push on my mom to make sure that the rules are still there because that makes me feel safe.
Such a good point.
And so the idea of like a kid who is suddenly telling you to blank off and, that's in a behavior you've never seen in your 11-year-old before. What they are asking you with that behavior is, I feel really unsafe. Are you still my mom who gives me boundaries?
Yeah.
And so you have to be like, that is unacceptable. I understand that you are anxious in a terribly difficult situation, but you will never behave that way in my house. That is what they are asking you for.
Yeah.
And they may ask it a lot and repeatedly, and it may be really frustrated because you're also very depleted right now. But I think even sometimes the baby talk and the thumb sucking is kind of, am I still safe? Is there someone to tell me not to do this? Is there someone to keep me, hemmed in? And my mom would always say, you bring your boundaries in when that happens, because they want to go a little bit outside of the boundary and to see that it's still there. And I think that is a really good thing to remember. And I'm constantly reminded of it myself right now. And I know a lot of people with tweens and teens are seeing that constant boundary seeking behavior. This might be like, oh, there's a pandemic going on, I'm going to sneak out and hang out with my friends. The reason you shut that down is A, because it's dangerous behavior, but B, because they're saying like, are you here to keep me safe? That's what they're asking you.
They're seeking reassurance. And so the best way to address these behaviors is with reassurance. That's actually where the experts like Margaret Abels and many others say you have to start.
My son was dancing around the living room and I said, you're a good dancer. You should take dance lessons. And he stopped dancing and looked at me and he said, I should teach dance lessons. A, for confidence. He's not that good a dancer. But I should write parenting articles is what I'm saying, Amy.
You should. I have this quote right here. Dr. Laura Markham, we've talked about her on the show before. She's always got good advice. And she says, in this situation, the best intervention is reassurance. So that's the first thing that works. And doctors Hermione N. Lucko and Theodore A. Stern talk about regressive behavior. I'll put this link in the show notes too. Not in terms of coronavirus. This article is actually was for doctors in hospitals with adult patients who are like acting like babies, like people who are in the hospital for a long stay, for completely unrelated to the moment, will start doing some crazy, weird, regressive stuff. And the way to fix it, these psychologists say, with adults is to address the underlying unmet need of the person. And you can apply that to the kid too. You have to figure out what's the unmet need. I mean, we know what the unmet need is, right? I'm freaking out. Help me not feel freaked out, Mom. Addressing that need will usually fix the behavior.
It's so interesting. I was on a Zoom call with a bunch of moms the other day, and somebody said, oh, well, my kid doesn't have his tablet right now, and they didn't have their screens. Why? And all of the moms who had similar age kids were like, oh, they've been lying. And I was thinking about our episode where we talk about how lying is a symptom. Lying isn't really it's not a personality trait. It's a symptom. And it's a boundary-seeking behavior too.
Yeah. So in that case, if the kid is lying, that's kind of another regressive behavior, right?
It is.
If they're lying, you need to address their insecurity. It's hard because with the 4-year-old, you can't say like, I know you're sucking your thumb because you're very anxious about, like you have to do it appropriately. And if you said to your 14-year-old, I know you're trying to curse at the dinner table because you're actually feeling very sad about not being able to see your friend. I mean, if you try to tell them what they're feeling, they will smack you down for sure, especially as they get older.
Yeah. And I don't think that you ever let the behavior go, because what we're saying is it's boundary seeking.
Right.
You say, let's stop sucking our thumb and let's not curse at the dinner table, or you'll have to leave the dinner table because you're cursing, and hopefully tomorrow night you have better behavior. Whatever your boundary is, when they hit it, you enforce it.
Yes. Except if it's like potty stuff, potty training accidents and that kind of thing, that's something that you probably want to use a light touch with. Like if they're suddenly having accidents or they suddenly want to poop in their underwear, then, you kind of need to blank face it, as you would say. I mean, clean up the accident. You don't not acknowledge that it happened, but you don't give them an angry response. You don't give it a ton of response. Claire Lerner says that you should just say, well, it's your body and you're deciding where you want to make peeps and poops. And so you're showing me that you want to wear a diaper right now. And then, let them wear the diaper, let them wear the pull-ups and follow their lead. Don't make it a huge battle for control, because they are here for that battle. It's they've got all day. They're home with us.
They got all day. And I think that's the same. And I need this reminder so much right now with my 11-year-old. the blank facing is the key, that the boundary is hit. And it's, okay, if you choose to speak to me that way, I'm not going to be able to help you with your homework. So I'm going to leave. And if you can speak correctly, let me know. Otherwise, I'm afraid you're not going to get help with your schoolwork today. And that's probably going to affect your grade. Bye-bye. And it's not because I am also regressing. I am jumping at every piece of bait, you know? You're not ever going to talk to me that way in this house. And it's like, they're checking to see if I can stay calm, and I'm failing the test a lot. But it's just good to remember that it is, unfortunately, we don't behave that way at the dinner table. So I'm going to have to ask you to
And you're providing reassurance.
And then we're going to go on with our dinner. You've hit the boundary, and I'm not going to be the pop-up toy that goes crazy. I'm going to just say, that's not how we behave, and here's the consequence.
It's like steady and calm. And yes, the boundary is here right where it always is. And we don't have to yell about it because you know this.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, it's so true. When you can do that, and it's so hard to do, but it does work. Okay, clingy kids. Here's some good advice if you have a kid who's extra clingy right now. I mean, you sort of indulge in it to the extent that you can, but you know what they're seeking. They're seeking connection with you. So give them a big hug when they're not asking for it, when they're not talking in a baby voice, when they're not expecting it at all. Give them extra affection, you time, maybe an extra story at bedtime. Give them these things when they're not asking for it in the annoying way they've come up with, because you know that's what they need.
And also, because I'm dealing with this with my 8-year-old right now, who's always like, mommy hugs, while she's supposed to be doing her schoolwork, you know? It's become her kind of like baby talk. I need a hug, mommy, touchstone. And it's irritating and not that winning. And I mean, it's also cute. I guess people might be listening to this thinking I'm a total monster. But I mean, it's clearly a manifestation of like, I don't want to be doing homeschooling and I need this kind of attention, that I almost always indulge it. Like, oh, mommy hugs. I've always got those to spare. Come over here. Cuddle, cuddle, cuddle. Great. Now back to your work. You know, that it doesn't become, it's like, of course, I'm always here to hug you and take care of you, but you're not fooling me. Go back to work. It's not going to become a thing of like, this is your tool for getting out of stuff.
You're not letting the goalposts move further and further back, right?
Same thing when it shows up at 8:30 at night. Mommy, I love you. I want to be in bed with you. Great. Come on, hop up. Well, let's do this for 5 minutes before you go to your regular bed.
Yep.
And so you indulge it and you try to fill the need, but you don't move the goalposts. That's key.
For bedtime stuff, you can expand the bedtime routine, right? Give them an extra story. I'm reading a book at night to my 7th grader. Well, she's not a 7th grader yet, but she will be soon. Reading a book to her at night before bed. I mean, I'm enjoying that, right? I have the time. It's comforting for me too. We have this thing that connects us right now, but which is like for 15 minutes before I go to bed. And last night I was like, too late. It got too late. You know, it is happening, at least in my house. Bedtime is creeping later and later without these external things in place that usually are. And so I went to bed before my 12-year-old last night. But, you know, that was fine because we have this consistent routine of what I can offer her when I can. And that reassurance seems to be working.
And don't forget the Sunday reset. We've talked about this before, but we do this. Sundays is your bedtime is creeping towards 10 o'clock. We need to get back to a 8:30 bedtime for you. Your eating is really pretty gnarly and you are making yourself 3 desserts a day, I'm finding. Let's cut that down. And it's a good time to have back to 1 as your goal and like introduce that idea to your kids, which is, listen, it's a hard time. I know for myself, I mean, my eating habits are out of control. I'm struggling to exercise. It's freezing cold and raining every day. We just had snow in New York. I mean, I am baking and eating and just getting, listen, do I need to look like a supermodel and do my, swimsuit calendar in the fall? I really don't. But I know for myself that gaining 40 pounds and not exercising for 3 months is not going to make me feel better. And so I'm trying to go back to 1 on Sundays and say, let me find 3 days I can exercise. Let me just make slightly smarter choices about, is a scone okay? Of course. But am I mindlessly eating 7 scones because I just am trying to fill an hour? I could cut that out.
And maybe there are things, maybe you can start pushing back on we don't have pacifiers outside the crib. I'm going to let you have that while you watch your show today because you've been such a good boy all week. But then it's going to go back in our crib and we have to stay there until bedtime. It doesn't necessarily mean the wheels are off and everybody just does whatever they want, right? But you can give that kid an extra hug, give them reassurance, cut the part where you feel like you must be a bad mother, that this weird thing is happening, that they were in big boy pants and now they're not. And, address it for what it is. This is a moment that needs an extra hug and some reassurance. And then the boundary, re-present and, in a calm way.
Again, not because... Does it matter if your kid ends up on a pacifier for 6 months longer because they were involved in a global pandemic? It does not.
No, you're right.
But does the feeling that everyone in your house is out of control feel good? No, it does not. And so the question is, what boundaries are important to help everybody in your house feel more in control? And if you don't sleep train right now, it's fine. Your kid will sleep train a year from now. Might it be a little bit harder? I don't even know. But even if it is, who cares? If it's easier for you. But I find okay, does running around the house and picking up every single thing and keeping it spot all the time, it's driving me crazy because there's 5 people living in an enclosed space all the time. So that's annoying. But I know for myself, when I walk out every morning and it looks like a grenade went off, it just is not a mentally healthy way for me to start my day. So we need to put some boundaries in around keeping the house clean. And this morning, I just went up and gave everyone a checklist, and you've got to check this checklist off. And then they're into Fortnite right now. If you'll get $1, and then you can spend it towards your Fortnite stupidity, fine.
$1.
Because I need $1 a day. I know it's like the salt mines around here. But in 20 days of doing it, they can get whatever stupid, horrible thing they want on a video game that is meaningless. But it gives us a little bit of a reset, because I think in a world without boundaries, nobody feels safe.
Yeah, that's true. But in the meantime, your kids are playing more Fortnite. I'm on Facebook too much. You're making too many baked goods.
Too many baked goods. Amy, save me. This is normal.
This is normal. We are all trying to get support and reassurance from wherever we can get it. Our kids from us, and us from, my gosh, the Real Housewives. Are they even shooting right now? We have limited options.
No, we're really going to be hosts. And in 6 months, we're going to know how hosts we really were. But I've said it before, and my old writing mentor would always say, perfect is the enemy of done. Meaning I could be better, so that keeps you from being done. Perfect is the enemy of getting through the day. And so don't worry about perfect, but get to a place where you feel snug and safe, and your kids have those nice snug, how you swaddle a baby really tight because they're so jerky when they're little. That's kind of the sensation I think your kids are looking for. Nice, snug boundaries to make them feel good.
You solved it.
Solved it. Good research this week, Amy.
Thanks.
Amy, as always, we'll be posting all of this in the show notes, and you can find them at whatfreshhellpodcast.com. And also, guys, I want to remind you that if you go to whatfreshhellpodcast.com/promo codes, you can find a list of all the offers from our sponsors, because some people on Facebook were like, what was that thing where they offered that thing with that thing? So that's where you find them.
Good to know. We're on Facebook at What Fresh Hellcast. We're on Instagram at What Fresh Hellcast. We're on Twitter at WFH Podcast. I'll put all the links to the studies and the stuff I talked about today on the website, and I'll put it up on Facebook too. You can come read it.
And we're also on YouTube now, guys. Search for What Fresh Hell Podcast on YouTube, and you will find our YouTube channel, and subscribe.
Thanks for listening, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
This is a Monday.com ad. The same Monday.com designed for every team. The same Monday.com with built-in AI, scaling your work from day one. The same Monday.com with an easy and intuitive setup. Go to Monday.com and try it for free.